We are now on day 4 of the biggest scandal in politics, one of the biggest stories, arguably, of all time, a mystery for the ages that has befuddled experts, rocked the world, and which scientists and historians will ponder for decades. What happened to Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend's balls? For more on this, and let me know, this is the first time I've regretted calling the segment this, it's time for a closer look. Ugh. As you've probably gathered from 18 months of pandemic life, there are lots of weird medical opinions floating around out there. It seems like everybody's got one. A new virus breaks out and suddenly everyone turns into an apothecary from the 16th century. I tested positive for COVID. Just take some ginger root and elderflower and you'll be fine. You know how much apple cider vinegar I've been drinking? The good news is I haven't gotten COVID. The bad news is all my teeth are gone. We gotta show me the pictures before the closer looks. I'm not just supposed to roll through that. These are prosthetic teeth. Props to the SNL props department. Of course, we just went through 4 years of a presidency led by a notorious scam artist with all kinds of insane medical opinions. So much so that the current president, Joe Biden, recently felt he had to debunk one of the most infamous examples while talking about climate change.
We know what the driver is, climate change. We know what's causing climate change, human activity. This is no longer subject to debate. And I might add, windmills do not cause cancer.
I like imagining the one guy who hadn't heard Trump's original comments about windmills causing cancer try to figure out what the hell Biden's talking about. I mean, without the context, it makes no sense. It's like seeing a Surgeon General's warning on a pack of cigarettes that says, "Not for dogs." Has that been a problem? Just talking about real things Donald Trump said or did makes you sound like an insane person, like you're describing hallucinations to a psychiatrist. I saw a man on my television, and what did this man say? He said, Canadians are smuggling shoes across the border. And what else did he say? He said, Paris is no longer Paris. I see. Have you been drinking vinegar? It's such a weird legacy of our politics that presidents for the rest of our lifetimes will just have to toss out non sequiturs like that because of Trump. One day, President Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will be giving a speech on manufacturing. Out of nowhere, he'll have to say something like, also, you guys don't drink bleach. So Biden debunked the cancer part of Trump's comments. But, you know, I also wish he would have said something about the sound effects.
And they say the noise causes cancer. You told me that one, okay?
Why didn't Biden have anything to say about the noise Donald Trump thinks windmills make? That's not what a windmill sounds like, all right, Jack? Listen up, folks, I'm serious. I'm not joking around here. It's not row, row. It's more like whoosh, whoosh. Or, you know, it's whomp, whomp. Get it right, pal. So Biden felt the need to remind everyone that windmills do not, in fact, cause cancer, and now the White House has to address yet another bit of misinformation that is circulated on the internet. You may have heard about it. The sad case of Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend's balls, which, by the way, is the worst of the Hardy Boys mysteries. As I'm sure you'll recall, Minaj tweeted, my cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. Two governments have now had to correct this information, and we will get to that. But let's not let off the hook this woman who called off a wedding because her fiance's balls swelled up. The only way I'd ever accept that is if it happened during the vows. In sickness and in health. In sickness and in... Honey, what's happening to your balls? It's nothing. Just say I do. No, I'm out. I don't like this. I'm out. No, I know a lot. A lot has already been said about this tweet, but here's my question. More than 5.81 billion vaccine doses have been administered worldwide. If it gives you big balls, how come this is the first we're hearing of it? Nobody's shy about their big balls. Literally, it means you're not shy. If the vaccine gave you huge balls, CVS would be jammed with college kids getting their 8th and 9th booster shots. How come we haven't seen an epidemic of men waddling around with their legs out and swinging their nuts forward before they sit down? I mean, I got vaccinated, and if swollen balls were a side effect, you would see it every time I got up to greet a guest and had to sit back down. You know, because I'd have to do a lot like a swinging motion. Like I'd have to do one of these. You know, lest I sit on them and make a horrific noise like... I don't think that's the noise I'd make. You know that classic thing when you sit on your balls? Another bizarre consequence of this episode is that it's brought us the spectacle of news anchors having to repeat the claims and sometimes say the words themselves on air.
The singer told fans that the COVID-19 vaccine impacts reproductive health. That's not exactly how she phrased it.
She tweeted that her cousin's friend got the vaccine and became impotent after his reproductive organs swelled up.
She said he has swollen testicles.
His testicles became swollen.
His testicles became swollen.
His testicles became swollen.
His testicles became swollen.
Swollen testicles.
Swollen testicles. Swollen genitals.
Swelling to his genitals.
Cousin's swollen friend's testicle gate.
Nothing worse than hearing news anchors say the words swollen testicles. It's like hearing your grandpa say the words aroused or engorged. These moments are when I miss having Tom Brokaw around to deliver the news. That's the only voice I want to hear say those words. Breaking news, Gerald Ford fell down the stairs today on Air Force One. And now he has swollen testicles. Richard Nixon engorged at the news. Anyway, we're now on day 4 of this scrotal scandal. And we've gotten to the point where the White House is getting involved.
The White House says it offered Nicki Minaj a phone call to answer her questions about the safety of COVID vaccines. It comes after Minaj tweeted earlier this week an unverified story about her cousin's friend in Trinidad who got the vaccine and became, quote, impotent. Yesterday, Minaj tweeted that she had been invited to the White House. That prompted the White House to issue clarification, saying the invitation was for a phone call, not an in-person visit.
And administration officials tell CNN's Jeff Zeleny, quote, as we have with others, we offered a call with Nicki Minaj and one of our doctors to answer questions that she has about safety, the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine.
What a bummer for that White House doctor. He gets the best news that he's going to meet Nicki Minaj, followed by the worst news, the reason why. Hello? Oh, yes, I would love to meet Miss Minaj. Well, I'm a huge fan. What's it for? Uh-huh. Yes. Testicles? Swollen, you say? And they were just weeks away from their wedding? But do you think if she called it off for that, they were ever really in love? Second question, can we get Fauci to take this one? Any interest, Fauci? Oh, the face slap is back. We found out about the White House outreach to Minaj after she had originally tweeted that the White House has invited me, and I think it's a step in the right direction. Yes, I'm going. And you know what? I think they should do it. I think they should meet at the White House, and I think they should invite Minaj's cousin's friend as well. I mean, why not? Rudy Giuliani's been there, and he is a swollen testicle. He looks like the cartoon they show in a sex ed video. See what happened? He forgot to swing forward. And I think we already have an idea how Fauci would handle such a conversation because he was asked about this scandal on national television, and he actually had to tell people, no, the vaccine will not make your balls swell up.
I wouldn't normally even ask you about this, but Nicki Minaj has nearly 180 million followers on Twitter and Instagram combined. She's beloved by her fans. She's a huge talent, obviously. Her tweet was seized upon by vaccine opponents as some sort of evidence. I want you to address what she said, because for anyone out there who has any questions about this, Dr. Fauci, is there any evidence that the Pfizer, the Moderna, or the J&J vaccines cause any reproductive issues in men or women?
The answer to that, Jake, is a resounding no. There's no evidence that it happens, nor is there any mechanistic reason to imagine that it would happen. So the answer to your question is no.
Poor Fauci. When this whole thing first started, he was a national hero, celebrated by all, played by Brad Pitt on SNL. Now 18 months in, and he's answering questions about whether the vaccines turn your balls into cantaloupes. We've gone so insane as a nation, we've turned our most celebrated infectious disease expert into an exasperated high school sex ed teacher. I heard you can't get pregnant in a jacuzzi. Well, I heard you don't need a condom as long as you stand up right after you're done. Guys, come on, none of that's true. Do I really need to show you the movie again? Any day now, I feel like the Brooklyn version of Fauci is going to come out and he's just going to snap. Hey, the vaccine doesn't give you big balls. You know what gives you big balls? Walking around Cody Island after midnight looking for the kid who stole your switchblade. Oh, I got big balls. I got big balls and enough hair on them to make Rudy Giuliani another toupee. I'm Fauci. Also, I like that Jake Tapper prefaced the question with, I wouldn't normally ask you this, as if he didn't know Fauci would have said, whoa, 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 what is this, Tapper, the ball question hour? And Fauci is not the only medical professional who's had to waste his time on this nonsense. Yesterday, the health minister in Trinidad and Tobago officially debunked any reports of swollen testicles as a vaccine side effect in a formal press conference.
One of the reasons we could not respond yesterday in real time to Ms. Minaj is that we had to check and make sure that what she was claiming was either true or false. And unfortunately, we wasted so much time yesterday running down this false claim. It is, as far as we know, at this point in time, there has been no such reported either side effect or adverse event. And what was sad about this is that it wasted our time yesterday. As we stand now, there is absolutely no reported such side effect or adverse event of testicular swelling in Trinidad, or I dare say, Dr. Hines, anywhere else? None that we know of anywhere else in the world.
He sounds annoyed, or should I say, testy. It's the kind of jokes you get when Sandberg's in the house. Should have put a mic in his dressing room. You really got to feel for doctors and scientists. They're desperately trying to beat back a pandemic that's raging on despite their best efforts, and they keep getting dumber and dumber questions. First, it was the president talking about ingesting bleach. Then it was the demon sperm lady talking about hydroxychloroquine. Then horse paste, now swollen testicles. What's next? Okay, doc, hear me out. They say horse paste cures COVID, but my horse has giant balls. So does that mean all COVID cures give you giant horse balls? And before you answer that, I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking for my horse. Hold on. I have to sneeze. Okay, I'm also asking for myself. The evidence about just how incredibly safe and effective these vaccines are is out there, and it's been out there for a long time. Moreover, getting vaccinated, which could save your life, isn't just about your own health, it's about protecting those around you. That's why vaccine misinformation can be so dangerous. And as for Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend, I just hope someone finds this poor man and helps him. And you could probably tell it's him from the sound his pants make when he walks. This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.